the space around planet Kepler 442 be burned with the fires of dying ships. Admiral Keth Morvac pressed his 4 hands against the control panel of his flagship. The Eternal Dawn, his insect-like eyes watched as another coalition vessel exploded in the darkness. The Vorthak were winning again, for 3 long months. The reptilian Vorthak Empire had crushed every fleet the Galactic Defense Coalition sent against them. Their bioships were like nothing anyone had ever seen before. The alien vessels could heal their wounds and change to fight better against any weapon used on them. Energy beams that worked yesterday did nothing today. "Admiral, we have lost the Morning Star and the Crystal Blade," reported Captain Lisa Velter from her station. The blue-skinned Nereid officer's gills fluttered with stress as she read the battle reports. Her people lived in oceans, but now she fought in the cold vacuum of space. Morvac's mandibles clicked together in frustration. The Morning Star had been one of their best ships, crewed by brave Quartzian warriors whose crystal bodies could survive almost anything. Almost anything except Vorthak bioweapons that ate through their hulls like acid through paper. "How many ships do we have left?" Morvac asked, though he feared the answer. Commander Jorix, his crystal body reflecting the red warning lights, checked his readings. 17 vessels, Admiral. The Vorthak have 60 ships closing in on our position. 60 ships. Morvac remembered when they had started this battle with over 200 vessels from 12 different worlds. The Coalition had been so sure they could stop the Vorthak advance. They had been wrong. The enemy ships moved through space like living things because they were living things. The Vorthak grew their vessels instead of building them. Each bioship had a thick organic hull that could seal holes and repair damage. Worse, they learned from every battle. Energy weapons that worked once never worked again. "Incoming transmission from the Vorthak flagship," announced Lieutenant Zara, a young Nereid who had joined them just weeks ago. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Put it on screen," Morvac ordered. The main display flickered and showed the bridge of the massive Vorthak command ship. Supreme Dominator Thex Gorthel filled the screen with his enormous reptilian form. His scales were dark green with patches of black, and his yellow eyes held no mercy. Behind him, other Vorthak warriors worked at stations made from what looked like living bone and flesh. "Coalition insects," Thex Gorthel hissed, his voice like grinding stone. "Your pathetic fleet dies today. Surrender now, and we will make your deaths quick. Fight us, and we will feed you to our bioships while you still live." The Vorthak leader's ship, the Flesh Render, was 3 times larger than any Coalition vessel. Its hull pulsed with veins of green light, and tentacle-like weapons moved along its sides like searching arms. Smaller bioships surrounded it, their organic hulls gleaming with the same sickly light. "We will never surrender to monsters like you," Morvac replied, standing tall despite his fear. "The Coalition will fight until the last ship falls." Thex Gorthel laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Then you will all die? Your energy weapons tickle our ships? Your missiles bounce off our hulls. We have grown strong eating the metal of your fleets. Soon we will grow stronger eating your worlds." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Morvac looked at his officers and saw the same hopelessness in their eyes that he felt in his hearts. The Vorthak were right. Nothing they had tried worked for long. "Admiral," Commander Jorix said quietly, "should we order the fleet to scatter? Some ships might escape to warn the outer colonies." Morvac considered this. It would save some lives, but it would also leave this system completely in Vorthak hands. They had mining stations here, research facilities, and 3 billion civilians on the planets below. He could not abandon them. "No," he said finally. "We make our stand here, but first, activate the quantum beacon." The quantum beacon was their last desperate hope. It would send a message across space faster than any ship could travel, calling for help from anyone who might receive it. The Coalition had built only 3 beacons, and this was their last one. "The beacon is ready, Admiral," reported Captain Velter. "But we don't know if anyone will hear it or if they will come if they do." "Someone has to be out there," Morvac said. "Someone who can fight these creatures." The beacon launched just as the Vorthak fleet opened fire. Bioprojectiles that looked like living worms slammed into the Eternal Dawn's shields. The organic weapons ate through the energy barriers like they were nothing, then began dissolving the ship's hull. Morvek felt his ship dying around him. The Eternal Dawn shuddered as bioacids ate through its main power systems. Emergency lighting? Cast everything in red shadows as the crew rushed to escape pods. All hands, abandon ship, Morvek ordered. This is Admiral Morvak. The fleet is lost, but the Coalition lives on. Remember our sacrifice? The escape pods launched into space as the Eternal Dawn broke apart. Morvak watched through the small window of his pod as the Vorthak bioships finished off the last Coalition. Vessels, in minutes it was over. The greatest fleet the Coalition had ever assembled was nothing but floating wreckage. Vex. Gorthel's voice echoed across all frequencies as the Vorthak celebrated their victory. Let this be known across the galaxy. The Greater Vorthak Dominion now rules this sector. We will spread to every world, every system. Nothing can stop us now. The Supreme Dominator was wrong about one thing. Far across space, traveling faster than light itself, the quantum beacon raced toward a small blue world that no one in the Coalition had ever heard of. A world called Earth, where a species called humans lived and built ships very different from anything the Vorthak had ever seen. But Morvak, floating in his damaged escape pod among the wreckage of his fleet, knew nothing of this. He only knew that his people had fallen and that the Vorthak now owned the stars. 3 weeks after the quantum beacon reached Earth, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance and read the strangest orders he had ever received. The message talked about aliens, space battles, and creatures that grew there. Ships like farmers grew crops. It sounded like something from a movie, but the orders came directly from Earth's High Command. "Captain, are you really sure about this?" asked Commander Lisa Hayes as she looked at the alien data on her screen. The woman had served with Morrison for 5 years, and she had never seen anything like the readings they were getting from the beacon. Morrison nodded slowly. He was a tall man with gray starting to show in his black hair. 20 years of military service had taught him to trust his orders, even when they seemed impossible. The scientists at headquarters have been studying this beacon for weeks. They say it's real. Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez looked up from his workstation. The heavyset man had been fixing ships since he was 18, but he had never worked on anything designed to fight living vessels. "Captain, I've been reading about these bioships. They can heal damage and change to fight different weapons. How are we supposed to fight something like that?" "The same way we fight everything else," Morrison replied, "with human ingenuity and superior firepower." Dr. Kate Sullivan walked onto the bridge carrying a datapad full of information about the aliens. She was the ship's expert on life forms, though until now she had only studied Earth creatures. Her blonde hair was pulled back as she read from her notes. "The beacon data shows us 3 different alien species," she explained. "The Zephyrians look like giant insects. The Nereids are blue and live in water. The Quartzians are made of some kind of crystal material. They were all fighting together against these Vorthak creatures." Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker, the ship's weapons officer, studied the tactical information. He was a young man who loved big guns and bigger explosions. "These Vorthak bioships sound tough, but look at their weapons. They use energy beams and some kind of acid projectiles. All their enemies have been using energy weapons too." "What are you thinking, Steve?" Morrison asked. Parker grinned. "I'm thinking they've never fought anyone who uses kinetic weapons, railguns, missiles, and good old-fashioned bullets. Their bioships might heal energy damage, but I bet they can't heal from having a tungsten rod shot through them at 10,000 meters per second." Navigator Ashley Brown plotted their course to the alien star system. The brown-haired woman had guided ships through Earth's solar system for years, but this would be her first trip to another star. "Captain, the journey will take us through 17 different star systems. We'll be gone for months." Communications Officer Danny Cruz checked his equipment one more time. The young man had grown up speaking 3 languages, and now he had to learn to talk to aliens. The universal translator is ready, sir. The scientists think it should work with any alien language we encounter. Morrison looked around his bridge at the best crew he had ever served with. The USS Defiance was humanity's most advanced warship, built with technology that pushed the limits of human engineering. Unlike the sleek, energy-based weapons that other species seemed to prefer, human ships were built like floating fortresses. The Defiance carried enough firepower to level a city. Its main guns could fire tungsten rounds at incredible speeds. Its missile tubes held nuclear warheads that could crack asteroids in half. Its armor was made from the strongest metals Earth could produce, designed to stop anything the enemy could. Throw at it, Dr. Kate. What else do we know about these Vorthak? Morrison asked. The scientist looked worried as she answered. From what we can tell, they've been conquering star systems for over 2 years. Their empire now controls almost 50 different worlds. They don't just defeat their enemies, they completely destroy them. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ryan Clark spoke up from his station. The older man had treated injuries from every kind of weapon humans had ever built. Captain, I've prepared the medical bay for alien casualties. If we find survivors, we should be able to help them. Morrison nodded. Good thinking, Doc. We might be their only hope. Admiral Patricia Wells appeared on the main screen, calling. From Earth's military headquarters. The tough woman had been fighting Earth's wars for 30 years, but this was her first alien conflict. Captain Morrison, Operation Longshot is approved. Your mission is to reach the Kepler 442 system and assess the threat level. Understood, Admiral, Morrison replied. What are our rules of engagement? If the Vorthak are as dangerous as the beacon data suggests, they represent a threat to all life in the galaxy. That includes Earth. You are authorized to take any action necessary to protect human interests and assist friendly aliens. The Admiral's face grew serious. Jake, this might be the most important mission in human history. If these creatures can conquer dozens of worlds, what happens when they find Earth? Morrison understood. Humanity had always been alone in the universe, at least as far as they knew. Now they discovered that space was full of life, and most of it was in terrible danger. The Vorthak Empire sounded like something from humanity's worst nightmares. We won't let you down, Admiral, Morrison promised Dot after the transmission ended. Morrison turned to his crew. You all heard the mission. We're going to jump into a war zone where one side has super healing bioships and the other side is almost extinct. Questions? Tony Rodriguez raised his hand. Just one, Captain. When do we leave? Morrison smiled. Right now, Chief Ashley, set course for the Kepler 442 system. Steve, arm all weapons. Lisa, prepare for hyperspace jump. The USS Defiance turned toward deep space as its engines powered up. Humanity was about to enter galactic warfare for the first time, and they had no idea what they would find when they arrived. But they were ready to fight. And they were bringing weapons the galaxy had never seen before. The hyperspace jump began, carrying Earth's finest ship and crew toward a battle that would decide the fate of countless worlds. The USS Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, and what Captain Jake Morrison saw on his screens made his blood run cold. Hundreds of alien ships moved through space like a swarm of deadly insects. But these were not the coalition vessels from the beacon data. These were Vorthak bioships. Sweet Mother of God, whispered Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker as he stared at his tactical display. Captain, I'm reading over 300 contacts. They're huge. Morrison watched the alien vessels through the main view screen. The bioships looked like nothing human engineers had ever imagined. Their hulls curved and twisted like living muscle, covered in what appeared to be scales or armor plates. Green veins of light pulsed along their sides, and tentacle-like appendages moved slowly around weapon ports. All stop, Morrison ordered. Cut all non-essential power. I want us invisible until we figure out what we're dealing with. Commander Lisa Hayes worked at her station, analyzing the energy readings from the alien fleet. Captain, these ships are giving off biological signatures. They're not just designed to look alive. They actually are alive. Navigator Ashley Brown plotted the positions of the Vorthak vessels on her charts. Sir, they've established orbital control around 3 planets. I'm detecting massive construction activity on the surface of each world. Dr. Kate Sullivan studied the biological data streaming across her screen. As the ship's expert on life forms, she was both fascinated and horrified by what she saw. Captain, these bioships are more advanced than anything in our databases. They're not just alive, they're evolved for warfare, Morrison nodded grimly. The beacon data had described the Vorthak as dangerous, but seeing their fleet in person was something else entirely. Danny, are you picking up any coalition signals? Communications Officer Danny Cruz swept through different frequencies, searching for survivors. I'm getting some weak transmissions, Captain. They're coming from a debris field about 2 million kilometers from our position. On screen, Morrison ordered, the main display showed a field of twisted metal and burning wreckage that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Pieces of ships that had once belonged to the Coalition floated in the darkness like a graveyard of dreams. Here and there, small lights blinked in the wreckage, emergency beacons from escape pods. My God, said Dr. Ryan Clark, the ship's medical officer. How many ships were destroyed here? Ashley Brown checked her readings. Based on the debris patterns, I'd estimate at least 200 vessels, sir. This was a major fleet engagement. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. 200 ships destroyed, and the Vorthak fleet looked like it had barely been scratched. Lisa, how long ago did this battle happen? Analyzing the energy decay patterns, Hayes replied. I'd say about 3 weeks, Captain. Right around the time we received the quantum beacon. That made sense. The Coalition had sent their distress signal just before their fleet died. Morrison wondered how many brave aliens had given their lives trying to stop the Vorthak advance. Captain, Danny Cruz said suddenly, I'm picking up a direct transmission. It's weak, but it's aimed right at us. Put it through, Morrison ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was strange. With clicking sounds mixed with words the universal translator could barely understand. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Keth Morvak of the Galactic Defense. Coalition, if you can hear this, please respond. Our life support is failing. Morrison looked at his crew. This was it. First contact with an alien species. Danny, open a channel. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth vessel USS Defiance. Admiral Morvak, we received your quantum beacon. We're here to help. The silence that followed lasted so long that Morrison wondered if the transmission had been lost. Then Morvak's voice came back, filled with amazement. Earth vessel, we have never heard of your species. Are you from beyond the galactic rim? Something like that, Morrison replied. Admiral, how many survivors do you have? 17 escape pods scattered through the debris field. Most of our life support systems are damaged. Captain Morrison, you must leave this system immediately. The Vorthak will detect your ship and destroy you as they destroyed us. Morrison looked at his crew and saw determination in their eyes. These were people who had sworn to protect the innocent, and right now 17 alien survivors needed their help. Negative, Admiral. We're coming to get you. Steve, are the Vorthak ships detecting us? Parker checked his sensors. Not yet, Captain. We're running silent and they seem focused on their construction projects. But if we power up for a rescue operation, they'll spot us for sure. Then we better make it fast, Morrison said. Tony, how quickly can we grab those escape pods? Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez studied the tactical situation. If we use the cargo bay transporters, we can beam them aboard in under 10 minutes. But we'll have to drop our stealth systems to do it. Dr. Sullivan looked up from her readings. Captain, the life signs from those pods are getting weaker. Several different species, all showing signs of severe stress and oxygen deprivation. We need to move now. Morrison made his decision. Do it. Ashley, plot an intercept course with the escape pods. Steve, prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace if the Vorthak detect us. Tony, get those transporters ready. The USS Defiance powered up its systems and moved toward the debris field. Within minutes, alien escape pods began materializing in the ship's cargo bay. Morrison hurried down to meet their unexpected guests. The first alien he saw was Admiral Keth Morvac himself. The insectoid creature was larger than Morrison had expected, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the cargo bay lights. His chitinous armor was cracked and scorched from battle. Beside him stood Captain Lisa Velter, a blue-skinned woman with gills along her neck. Her uniform was torn, and she moved with the fluid grace of someone who had evolved in water. The third survivor was Commander Jorix, whose crystal body caught the light and threw it back in rainbow patterns. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Morvac said through the universal translator, "you have saved our lives. But you have also doomed your ship? The Vorthak bioships will adapt to your weapons just as they adapted to ours. No one can defeat them." Morrison looked at the broken alien officers and felt something burn in his chest. It was anger, but also determination. The Vorthak had conquered dozens of worlds and destroyed countless lives. They thought they were unbeatable. "Admiral," Morrison said quietly, "you've never fought humans before. We have a few tricks that might surprise them." In the distance, alarms began sounding as Vorthak bioships detected the human vessel and began moving to intercept. The real test was about to begin. Supreme Dominator Thex Gorthel felt the neural pulse from his bioship fleet the moment the unknown vessel revealed itself. From his command throne aboard the massive flesh render, he watched as his sensors analyzed the strange new ship. It was small compared to his bio-vessels, but it radiated an energy signature unlike anything in his Empire's databases. "What manner of prey thing dares enter our domain?" Thex Gorthel hissed to his sub-commanders. The reptilian war leader's yellow eyes gleamed with interest as he studied the alien vessel. "Dispatch Hunting Pack 7. Bring me this new species alive so we may learn how they taste." 12 Vorthak bioships detached from the main fleet and began moving toward the USS Defiance. Each vessel was 3 times larger than the human ship, their organic hulls pulsing with veins of green light. Tentacle-like weapons writhed along their sides, preparing to fire the bioacids that had dissolved so many coalition vessels. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Jake Morrison watched the approaching bioships with grim determination. Admiral Morvac stood beside him, his insect-like features tight with worry. The alien officer had seen these same bioships destroy hundreds of coalition vessels. "Captain Morrison, you must run," Morvac urged. "Those are Vorthak hunter-killers. Their bioweapons will eat through your hull in minutes. No ship has ever survived an encounter with them." Morrison glanced at his tactical officer. "Steve, what's our weapons status?" Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker grinned as he checked his systems. "All railguns loaded with tungsten rounds, Captain. Nuclear missiles armed and ready. Electromagnetic pulse systems standing by." "Captain," Commander Lisa Hayes said from her station, "the bioships are moving to surround us." Classic Vorthak hunting formation according to the data Admiral Morvac provided. Morrison nodded. The alien tactical information had been invaluable in understanding Vorthak battle tactics. But now it was time to show them something they had never seen before: human warfare. "All hands, battle stations," Morrison announced over the ship's intercom. "This is what we came here for. Let's show these aliens what Earth can do." The first Vorthak bioship opened fire when it came within range. Streams of green bioacid shot toward the Defiance, the organic weapons designed to eat through energy shields and metal hulls. But Morrison was ready. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Steve, return fire." The USS Defiance rolled to avoid the bioacid streams, its human-built engines giving it speed and agility the Vorthak had never encountered. As it moved, the ship's main railgun fired its first shot. A tungsten rod accelerated to incredible speed, shot through space and punched straight through the bioship's organic hull. The kinetic impact was so powerful that it continued through the vessel and out the other side, leaving a perfectly round hole that leaked green fluids into space. Admiral Morvac stared in amazement. "Impossible! No weapon has ever penetrated a Vorthak bioship so easily." "That's because no one ever tried kinetic weapons before," Morrison replied. Steve, fire at will. The Defiance unleashed its full arsenal. Railgun rounds tore through bioship hulls faster than their organic systems could heal. Nuclear missiles detonated inside alien vessels, creating thermal damage that overwhelmed their adaptation capabilities. Electromagnetic pulse burst disrupted. The neural networks that controlled the bioships, the first Vorthak hunter died within 30 seconds, its biosystems unable to cope with the massive kinetic trauma. The second ship tried to adapt, growing thicker armor plates, but another railgun round punched through them like they were paper. By the ancient queens, whispered Captain Lisa Velter as she watched from the bridge. The blue-skinned Nereid had never seen Vorthak bioships die so quickly. Your weapons are incredible. Commander Jorix, his crystal body reflecting the weapon's fire, analyzed the battle data. The bioships cannot adapt to kinetic damage combined with electromagnetic disruption. Their organic systems are completely unprepared for this type of warfare. Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez monitored the ship's systems as they fired continuously. Captain, all systems are running perfectly. These bioships can't even damage us. Their acid weapons can't get through our armor. The third and fourth Vorthak ships died as nuclear missiles detonated inside their hulls. The fifth ship tried to ram the Defiance, but rail gunfire tore it apart before it could close the distance. One by one, the entire hunting pack was destroyed. Dr. Kate Sullivan watched the bioship remains, floating in space, and felt both fascination and horror. Captain, the biological complexity of these vessels is incredible. But they're designed to fight energy weapons, not kinetic force. The last Vorthak ship managed to send a desperate transmission before railgun fire ended its existence. The message raced back to the main fleet, carrying warnings about the hard-shell prey things with death metal stingers. Supreme Dominator Thex Gorthel received the transmission just as his hunting pack died. The reptilian war leader had never experienced such a complete defeat. In 3 minutes, 12 of his bioships had been destroyed by a single alien vessel. Prepare. The war fleet, Thex Gorthel commanded, his voice filled with rage. All 40 ships. I will personally tear this new species apart and feast on their bones. On the bridge of the Defiance, Morrison watched the main Vorthak fleet begin moving toward them. The bioships were massive, their organic hulls gleaming with deadly purpose. Admiral Morvac looked terrified. Captain, that is Supreme Dominator. Thex Gorthel's personal fleet? No force in the galaxy has ever faced them and survived. Morrison studied the approaching armada and felt his crew's eyes on him. They had won the first battle, but now they faced odds of 40-1 against an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. Ashley, plot an escape course, Morrison ordered. But keep us in the system. We're not running away. Navigator Ashley Brown looked confused. Sir, where are we going? Morrison smiled grimly. We're going to use the debris field as cover and fight a running battle. These bioships may be tough, but they're about to learn that humans don't give up easily. The USS Defiance turned toward the wreckage of the Coalition fleet as 40 Vorthak bioships converged on their position. The real battle was about to begin, and Morrison knew that the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance. All hands prepare for extended combat, Morrison announced. We came here to stop the Vorthak Empire, and that's exactly what we're going to do. The 40 bioships of Supreme Dominator Thex Gorthel's personal fleet spread across space like a deadly net. Each vessel was a masterpiece of organic engineering, grown over decades to be the perfect weapon of war. At their center, the massive flesh render pulsed with veins of green light, its bioweapons charging for the kill. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance as the enemy fleet surrounded them. The human ship looked tiny compared to the biovessels, but Morrison had learned not to judge by size alone. Beside him, Admiral Morvac watched the approaching fleet with fear in his compound eyes. Captain, you must understand, the insectoid Admiral said desperately. This is the fleet that destroyed the Coalition. 40 ships led by the most dangerous Vorthak in the galaxy. We should run while we still can. Morrison studied the tactical display where 40 red dots closed in on their position. Admiral, with respect, running is what got you into this mess. Sometimes you have to stand and fight. Commander Lisa Hayes worked at her station, coordinating with the rescued coalition officers to develop new battle plans. Captain, Admiral Morvac's tactical data shows that Vorthek bioships share neural networks. If we can disrupt their command structure, we might be able to cause confusion in their fleet. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker had been studying the bioship formations for hours. Captain, I think I've found their weak point. See those larger vessels? Their fleet coordinators? Take them out and the smaller ships lose their guidance. Morrison nodded. The plan was risky, but it was better than trying to fight 40 ships at once. Ashley, plot a course through the debris field. We'll use the wreckage as cover and pick off their coordinators one by one. Navigator Ashley Brown calculated the route through the floating remains of the coalition fleet. Course plotted, Captain. But we'll have to get dangerously close to their formation. The USS Defiance dove into the debris field just as the Vorthek fleet opened fire. Bioacid streams and organic missiles filled space around them, but the human ship's superior speed and maneuverability kept them alive. Morrison used pieces of destroyed coalition ships as shields while his crew returned fire. Dr. Kate Sullivan analyzed captured bioship tissue that had been collected during the first battle. Captain, I've discovered something important, Vorthek. Bioships can't adapt to extreme kinetic trauma when it's combined with electromagnetic disruption. The two types of damage overload their healing systems. Chief Engineer Tony Rodriguez took this information and modified the ship's weapons. I'm loading the railguns with depleted uranium rounds and coupling them with electromagnetic pulse bursts. This should maximize damage to their biosystems. The first coordinator ship died when 3 modified railgun rounds punched through its hull while EMP bursts fried its neural networks. Immediately, 6 smaller bioships began moving erratically. Their guidance systems disrupted. Supreme Dominator Thex Gorthal roared in fury as he felt the death of his coordinator through the neural link. Impossible! How can one small ship cause such damage? All vessels concentrate fire on the human vessel? But Morrison was already moving, using the debris field to break line of sight while targeting the next coordinator. The second ship exploded when nuclear missiles detonated inside its hull, killing 12 more bioships through neural feedback. By the depths, whispered Captain Lisa Velter as she watched the Vorthek fleet fall into chaos. Their entire formation is collapsing. Commander Jorix monitored the enemy communications. Captain, the bioships are losing coordination. They're starting to fire on each other by mistake. Morrison saw his chance. All power to weapons. Steve, target their flagship. It's time to end this. The USS Defiance charged directly at the flesh render, firing every weapon system at maximum power. Railgun rounds tore through smaller bioships that tried to block their path. Nuclear missiles cleared corridors through the enemy formation. EMP bursts disrupted bioships trying to coordinate their defense. Thex Gorthal watched in disbelief as the tiny human ship carved through his fleet like a blade through flesh. His bioships, which had conquered dozens of worlds, were being destroyed. By weapons they couldn't adapt to fast enough. All ships, ram the human vessel, the Supreme Dominator commanded. I will not be defeated by inferior prey. But Morrison had anticipated this desperation move. Tony, give me everything the engines have. Ashley, collision course with their flagship. The Defiance accelerated toward the flesh render at incredible speed, its hull glowing from the heat of atmospheric entry through debris clouds. At the last second, Morrison ordered maximum firepower directly at the bioship's command center. Railgun rounds, moving at near-light speed, punched through the flesh render's organic armor, like it was soft tissue. Nuclear warheads detonated inside. The massive vessel's biocore EMP burst fried every neural pathway in the ship's living hull. Supreme Dominator Thex Gorthal felt his flagship dying around him as human weapons tore it apart. With his last breath, he sent a psychic scream across the bioship network. A death cry that reached every Vorthik vessel in the system. The psychic shock wave caused massive confusion throughout the remaining bioships. Without their supreme leader and with their neural networks disrupted, the organic vessels began retreating in panic. Some fled toward the edge of the system while others simply shut down, their biosystems unable to function without central control. Morrison watched the Vorthak fleet scatter and felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The empire that had seemed unstoppable was running from a single human ship. "Admiral Morvac," Morrison said to the insectoid officer, "I think it's time to call your people. The Vorthak won't be conquering any more worlds today." 3 months later, the USS Defiance led a fleet of newly constructed human coalition vessels toward the Vorthik home system. The bioship empire still existed, but they now faced an enemy they couldn't simply adapt to overcome. Human weapons and tactics had broken their dominance forever. Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, surrounded by officers from a dozen different species. The age of Vorthik terror was ending, and the era of galactic cooperation was about to begin. The stars belonged to everyone now, not just the strongest predator. And humanity had ensured it would stay that way.